Okay, hello everyone. This is James Song here. Welcome back to this video. We have a reading section of the TOEFL test, prepared for you today. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see on the screen, the title is Feeding Strategies in the Ocean. It doesn't have whose strategy, so I assume we'll see some marine organisms feeding strategies, different strategies in the ocean. So let's get going. Let's get started. Question 1. What can be inferred from paragraph 1 about why energy conservation is not a higher priority for ocean animals in coastal water during the spring? Okay. Sorry, I laugh because it looks like a common sense question almost. Like, I mean, why would you not worry about energy conservation? Because you can just get food whenever you want. Is this common sense question? No. Calm down. Stop, James. Okay, so let's read the paragraph and find out. In the open sea, animals can often find food reliably available. Told you. So in the open sea, animals can often, in what situation? Find food reliably available in particular region and seasons. For example, in coastal areas, in springtime, foods are readily available. In these circumstances, so for example, in coastal areas in springtime, animals are neither constrained to get the last calorie out of their diet, so use all of their food intake before they eat again, nor is energy conservation a higher priority. So you already got an answer, right? So energy conservation is not a higher priority when in these circumstances. When are these circumstances? For example, if the animals are in coastal area in springtime. Why? Because they have food reliably available. Okay. Yeah, so I can get the answer right away, I think. A, those animals are least active during the spring. It has nothing to do with activity level. Those animals have a plentiful supply of food. Bang, easy question. Thank you. Yeah, so it's just here. Question 1B. Okay. I show you how you link it, right? Energy conservation, not a high priority, because especially in these situations, you have food readily available. Okay, those animals have to expend energy to avoid predators. Those animals store energy during the colder seasons. Okay, it doesn't match the question or irrelevant to the question. Okay, so question 1, easy question to start us off with. The answer is B. Question 2, but before we move on, we better read the rest of the question 1, paragraph 1. So in contrast, where foods are not reliably available, I guess, the food levels in deeper layers, not on the surface, of the oceans are greatly reduced. See? So deeper layers of the sea, the food levels are low. Okay, in contrast, the food levels in deeper layers of the oceans are greatly reduced, and the energy constraints of the animal are much more severe. To survive at those levels, exactly opposite to this, I guess. They try to get the last calorie out of their diet, and also they try to conserve energy. Active reading, let's find out. To survive at those levels, animals must maximize their energy input. That's exactly what they mean by trying to get the last calorie out of their diet, paraphrased. and finding and eating whatever potential food source may be present. So, they don't know when they're going to eat again. So whenever they find food, they try to consume. Okay, right. Question 2, what can be inference question back to back? Quite rare, but hopefully it's simple and easy inference question as the question 1. Let's find out. Ooh, it's a bit general. So it's going to be a little bit harder. It's not very specific. So what can be inferred about the fish in general that is stated here? Let's go. In the near surface layer, there are many large, fast carnivores, as well as an immense variety of planktonic animals. So planktonic animals are not carnivores, so different types, which feed on plankton by filtering them from currents of water that pass through a specialized anatomical structure. Wow. So just open their mouth and like food comes in or a gill. Okay. So they're not carnivore. They feed on the plankton. There are carnivores, and there are type of animals, planktonic animals, that have this filter, and food can go through this filter. Yeah. These filter feeders, okay, they're called filter feeders. Wow. Okay, filter or gill for the fish, maybe. So these, not carnivores, these filter feeders thrive in well-illuminated surface. So they live well in bright surface area of the ocean, because the reason is oceans have so many very small organisms. So they're everywhere. The plankton, their food source is everywhere. So if it's bright, they can just use their filter to get feeded, right? Because oceans have so many very small organisms, from bacteria, from large algae to larval crustaceans. Okay, so they do well in bright area because they can find their food source, whatever that may be. Even fishes, okay. So fishes, of course, types of fishes. Even there are many fish. If it's one type of fish, we say, million fish. If it's like one species of fish, all of the fish are snapper. We say fish, not fishes. So fishes means like different types of fish, different species of fish, Even fishes different types of fishes can become successful fill feeder. Okay, so not all. Okay. Fishes are obviously carnivore, right? Some other fish. I mean, even if you didn't know that, even fishes can become successful fill feeder. So we know it's not all fishes, right? Some fishes can become fill feeders in some situation. When? Although the vast majority of marine fishes are carnivore, there you go. So you didn't have to guess, it tells you. So most of fishes are carnivores. There are some filled feeder. Some fishes are filled feeders. In near surface region of high productivity, the concentration of larger phytoplankton are sufficient to support huge population of filter feeding sardines and anchovies. So sardine cans, like tuna cans, right? Even humans enjoy. And anchovies, the very small fish that you can find in Italiano pizzas, that salty, fish, small one, anchovy, right? Or seafood pizza, not seafood fish, seafood fish, seafood pizza, right? So what's it saying? This food source is enough to support some of this filter feeding fishes. Okay, so majority of fish are carnivore. Some fishes are filter feeder. and their food source is phytoplankton, and there are plenty of phytoplankton to support sardines and anchovies as successful filth feeder. Okay, so some fishes are filth feeder, although majority of fish are carnivore. Okay, these small fishes, sardines and anchovies, use their gill filament to strain out algae that dominate such areas. Okay, so they use their gill to use as a filter to get feeded, get phytoplankton. Okay, cool. So they are filth feeder. They use gill filament as their filter. Cool. Next sentence. Sardines and anchovies, so these filter feeders provide bases for huge commercial fisheries. Okay, so they actually become food source for commercial fisheries. So like fish farms. So like sardines, anchovies are food source for bigger fishes. Okay, I shouldn't laugh, but anyway. As well as a food source for large number of local carnivores, yeah, particularly seabirds. So they are food source for non-fishes as well. At a much larger scale, bigger picture, Berlin whales, geez, whales are also filter feeders. Ah, they are. I saw in the movie, like documentary, you know, they like literally open their mouth or whatever and things go through it, right? Yeah. So whale, Berlin whales and whale sharks, so different types of whales, are also efficient filter feeders. Not all, but some, okay? So some types of whales are filter feeders in productive coastal or polar waters where there are lots of plankton, phytoplankton, where are lots of food sources, I guess, for them to become a filter feeder, right? Just like previous sentences. Although, but their filtered particles comprise small animals, so they don't, you know, whales, you know, they're big, right? So their food source is a bit bigger, okay? They don't feed on phytoplankton. Okay, so their food sources are small animals such as copepods and krill rather than phytoplankton. Okay, cool. So what can we infer about the fish? Question 2. A, most fish feed on plankton. That's exactly opposite this sentence here. Majority of marine fishes are carnivore, so this is wrong. B, fish tend to avoid well-illuminated areas. Definitely not mentioned. I mean, logically, some fishes are filter feeders, right? Sardines and the anchovies. And for them to get their food source, they would actually feed on well-illuminated areas, logically, right? But you don't have to go there. This has no evidence, no grounding in the passage, so no such information. See, most fish species are not filter feeders. Yeah, exactly. Large majority of the fishes are carnivores, okay? Or although large variety of fishes are carnivores, okay? So most fish species are carnivores, but there are some fishes that are filth feeders, right? So what can we infer? Most fish species are not filth feeders. Is correct. Most fish species are what? Carnivore. So C is correct. And it comes from same sentence. Where is it? Although the vast majority of marine fishes are carnivores, right? Even fishes can become filth feeders, right? Okay. D, few fish species are successful in near surface. Do we have this information? Logically, it's wrong as well. I mean, near surface area has more food for everyone, whether you're fish or organism or whales or whatever, as paragraph 1 says. So logically, it's wrong as well. But does it say this? Not at all. So be safe. Okay, not mentioned, wrong information. So question 2, the answer is C. Question 3 is also based on paragraph 2. So let's continue. According to paragraph 2, how do sardines and anchovies obtain food? How? What way? Obtain food near the surface of the ocean. Field feeder by the gill filament. It's word for word. It was this sentence. These small fishes, the field feeders, use their gill filament to strain out the algae that dominate such area. Okay. Very simple factual question, word for word, just paraphrased from the passage. A, they rely on large quantity of food resource also available. No, it's a how, man. It's a how. How they filter feed. They capture the larvae of some crustaceans. Yeah, it's for whales, much bigger animals. Sorry, not for you, buddy. They feed on organism left over by commercial. They become food source for commercial fisheries. It's not like they wait like a hyenas and wait for commercial fishery to leave some food left for them to feed on. D, they obtain algae by using their gill as filters. Question is how? Perfecto. Okay. So answer is right here, this sentence, word for word, and read the question. It's how. What method do they use, okay, to obtain food? They are field feeders, so they obtain food by using their filter filament. Okay, this sentence. Question 3, the answer is D. They obtain algae by using their gills as filters. Cool. Let's keep going. Question 4, which of the sentences below best express the essential information and highlighted sentences in the passage? So sentence simplification. So let's read the sentence first and understand what it is saying and which one best condense it while still maintaining the essential information of this sentence, okay? Filtering seawater for its particular nutrition content can be, so filter feeding, so filtering seawater to get nutritional content. So filtering the seawater can be energetically demanding method of feeding. Okay. So filtering the water can require a lot of energy. So this method of feeding requires energy, is demanding energetically. Okay. Particularly, especially when the current of water to be filtered has to be generated by the organism itself. So this is it. So I want to open my mouth and all the food go inside my mouth in the water, but the current of the water, the movement, flow is standstill. So if I just open my mouth and water is moving, so that if the food is water is like coming into my mouth, I don't need to use any energy other than opening my mouth, right? Or opening my gill, okay? But if the current of water, flow of the water, has to be generated by me, I have to do this, you know? I have to create, okay, the speed of water or direction of the water or flow of the water come towards my mouth, right? That's what it's saying, okay? So it's energetically demanding, especially, particularly when the current of water to be filtered has to be generated, created by organism itself, of course. So I have to do this. So like the animal has to create the current, okay? So particularly when the current of the water have to be generated by the organism that is trying to filter feeding, okay? As is the case for all planktonic animal, okay? So this is the case for all planktonic animals, okay? So if we flip this sentence around, for all planktonic animals, filter feeding is quite demanding in terms of energy requirement, because these planktonic animals has to generate the current by themselves. Understood? Yeah, super clear. So now let's tackle the question and get it right. Okay. A. An organism may obtain food particles from the seawater when currents generated by the organism cause water to pass through their filter. It's definitely not. Like, which information that is very essential is missing here? It is when organism has to generate the current, it is energetically demanding. That's a key information. It has to have, it's energetically demanding. But this sentence doesn't have that at all. So that alone is a wrong answer. So I'll just move on. There are a couple other things that's wrong, but you know, let's just keep it simple. Okay, B. The nutritional content of the food particles in seawater is sufficient to meet, it's already wrong. It's not about how nutritional it is, or it's not very nutritional, okay? Okay, all right, so this food has a lot of protein. No, okay. But let's read through. Nutritional content of food particles in seawater is sufficient to meet the energy demand. Okay. So these are like planktonic animals, move a lot. And when they filter feed, the food sources have enough carbohydrates. So this, no. See, as planktonic animals require a lot of energy, I think it's already wrong. It's like they need to use a lot of energy to filter feed, right? So like out of blue, like they require a lot of energy for what? Okay, it's totally different. Like this action of filter feeding is quite demanding in terms of energy, because so as planktonic animals require a lot of energy, they have to generate the current strong enough to bring them sufficient, because they have to eat a lot. They have to generate a lot of current because they have to eat a lot. Okay? No. D better be the answer. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. Organism that filter seawater to meet their nutritional needs expend a lot of energy. I like this already. So this is saying the action of filtering the seawater in order to get feed. Okay, so this action needs a lot of energy. Yeah, so that summarized the first part perfectly. This action of filter feeding requires a lot of energy input. Particularly, those organisms that have to generate their own current. Voila. So this part covered. So action of filter feeding requires energy, especially the current has to be generated by themselves. And they decided to leave out the minor detail, what they felt, the minor detail. Who are these organisms? Which is fine. It's a sentence simplification. So D is perfect because it says Filter feeding requires a lot of energy, especially when organism has to create their own current to get feeded. Super clear. Question 4, the correct answer is D. Question 5, moving on to paragraph 4, deep water filter feeders. Okay, so not just the surface of the water, there is a deep water filter feeders will be introduced in paragraph 4. Have adopted all of the following ways to obtain food except. Okay, so 3 ways. They have 3 adaptation to get food in deep water as a filter feeder. One is a wrong information, or it's not an adaptation, and that's the answer, except negative factual question. So all we have to do is just read it thoroughly, carefully, and find 3 right information, 3 adaptation, then they are right information, so it's not the answer, and just choose one is left behind. So let's just be careful about this. Paragraph 4. There are, therefore, fewer successful filter feeders in the deep water because why? Paragraph 1. There's less amount of food to start off with, okay? And some of those that are there have larger filtering system to cope, so that's first adaptation possibly, right? To meet the challenge in deep water, they have larger filtering system to cope with scarcity, means limited, not unlimited. Limited particles here is a food source. Okay, so that's first one, I think. Another solution for such animal is to forage in particular layers of food. Where? Which layer? The particles may be more concentrated. Okay, so that's the second one. So that they find which layer of the food. So they're a little bit deeper, but still there may be different layers, right? Maybe 3, for example. Then the certain layer out of 3, comparably, relatively, one layer may have a little bit more food source. This is what this sentence is saying. And they just attack that one specific layer that has more food source. Okay? So that's second. Many of the groups of animals that typify the filter feeding lifestyle in shallow water have deep sea representatives that have become predatory. Okay, so many of the group of animals that generalize filter feeding lifestyle in shallow water, okay? So not deep water, shallow water, okay? The filter feeder have deep sea predator, okay? So when they go to deeper, they may have predator organism. So what do they do to avoid danger, maybe, or survive, or get feeded? Their filtering system, which reach such a high degree of development in shallow water species, okay, are greatly reduced. Okay, so this is reduced. That's adaptation. So unlike shallow water, their filtering system, which reach such a high degree of development in shallow water species, are greatly reduced when these filter feeder get into deeper water, unlike when they are in shallow water. Okay. Alternative method of active or passive prey capture have been evolved, including trapping and seizing prey, entangling prey, and sticky tentacles. So that's other method. Okay, so there are 4. So let's choose one that is wrong or not mentioned here. Develop larger filter system. Yeah, absolutely. It says larger filtering system. So this is a right information. So it's not the answer. Second, capturing prey with the sticky tentacles. It's here. Right? So That's the adaptation they came up with. So it's correct information. So it's not the answer because we are looking for something that is not mentioned or wrong. Swinging up to the surface at the feeding time. This is really funny. So what C says is like, they live in the deep water when they are not feeding, filter feeding. But when they get hungry, they swim up and they become they become the species that live on the surface. And then they get fed. And then they go back down to deeper water. That's what C means. Wow, it's pretty funny. Okay, if this was the case, probably they wouldn't be called deep water filled feeder, right? Okay, if they move up the surface of the water, I mean, it's possible if it's mentioned here. Like, I mean, it's not possible. It's not laughable. If it's mentioned here, then, you know, it may be correct information, but it's not mentioned here at all. Okay. Right, D, searching in ocean layers that contain the substantial amount of particles. That's the second strategy, right? So that's also correct information. So A is from here, B is from here. Sorry, I'm making it messy, but D is coming from there. Okay, I just want to help you further, reference it where the answers come from. So this is correct information, this is correct information, this is correct information. We cannot find this information at all. And it's pretty funny, right? So C is wrong information. Therefore, C is the answer because we're looking for except. Question 5, the answer is C. Okay, question 6. Why does the author include the information? So why does the author do this? It's a purpose question, rhetorical purpose. So what is the reason? What is the purpose? Include the information. Which information does author include? That animal in the deep ocean place on emphasis on lure. So emphasis in attracting. Okay. Let other people to come to you rather than me chasing them, lures, and have evolved elongated, kind of slim and long, you know, kind of that shape. It's elongated like an airplane's body, okay, like kind of slim and long, elongated appendages, okay. Okay, so let's find out. Let's look at paragraph 5. Okay, in the deep waters of the oceans, there is much greater tendency for animal to await the arrival lure, arrival of food particles or prey, rather than to search them out actively, means chasing. Okay, why? So this is more probable. They try to wait for them rather than chasing them. This thus minimizing energy expenditure. Okay, so this is a reason. So they can save their energy. This has resulted in more stealthy style of feeding with the consequent emphasis on lures, yeah, okay, and or evolution of elongated appendages. Appendages like limb, like appendages, as you know, like parts that is stick to the main part of the bodies if it's a human. So arms and legs are appendages for a human being, for us, that is attached to, you know, the vertebrates and the, you know, the main part of the body. Okay. For animals like tentacles, you know, for octopus, you know, squid, appendages. Okay. All right. That increase the active volume of water controlled so they can control more water because they have longer, appendages, right? Imagine it's your arm, or monitored by animal, okay? Another consequences of limited availability of prey is that many animals have developed ways of coping with much larger food particles relative to their own body size, than the equivalent shallow species can process. So even if you're small, like snakes, they can eat like how many times bigger than them, okay? So it's a bit like that, right? So because they have a limited food quantity, right? Another ways they use to cope with this situation is develop ways of coping with much larger food particles relative to their own body size. So they may be small or smaller, but they can consume much bigger or larger food source, okay? Among the fishes, there is a tendency for the teeth and jaw to become appreciatively enlarged, okay? So some fishes living in a deeper water, teeth and jaws get bigger. In such creatures, not only are the teeth hugely enlarged, got bigger, and all the jaws elongated, like became long, but the size of the mouth opening may be greatly increased by making the jaw articulation, like a movement, expression, so flexible that they can be effectively dislocated. So, just trying to get, trying to cover more areas because they're filth feeders, right? Okay, so, the jaws and mouth got bigger and, can direct to cover bigger areas, okay? Very large and long teeth provide almost no room for cutting the prey into a convenient size for swallowing, but doesn't matter, they're filth feeders, right? Fish must gulp the prey down the hole, like the snakes. Okay, cool. Pretty heavy paragraph. Let's solve some questions. Okay, the first one. Why he mentioned emphasis on lures? Because that's greater tendency that animals to get feeded, right? And evolution of elongated appendages. So these are evolution adaptation they have gone through to survive, to get more food sources, right? So let's look at the answer choice and choose the right one. To argue against the view that animals in the deep ocean use more energy to find food than do animals in shallow water. It's true, right? So like, they need to conserve energy, or, they will use too much energy, all right? So they need to, focus on more like luring. It's here. They do this, okay? Therefore, they can minimize energy expenditure. So if they chase the animal, or if they search actively rather than luring, opposite of this, so they will have to maximize energy expenditure. But by luring rather than actively pursuing, they can minimize energy expenditure. So A is wrong. Because A say, argue against the view that animals in the deep ocean use more energy to find food than do animals in shallow water. No. Okay, B, to emphasize the importance of animals' ability to control a large volume of water. That's only minor detail, one of the minor detail based on elongated appendages, isn't it? It doesn't apply to emphasis on lures, right? So B only appears evolution of elongated appendages that increase the active volume of water controlled. Yeah. So it just says elongated appendages can control larger volume of water. Okay, so first, it doesn't talk about emphasis on lure. And second, it doesn't even talk about the importance. It just says they do. To identify some feeding strategies that animals have developed to minimize their energy expenditure. Bang! Opposite to A. Well done. Okay. So they tend to do this because in order to minimize energy expenditure, and they go into more detail, right? So their tendency is like this. Therefore, so this is objective to minimize energy expenditure. And this has resulted, what is this? Luring to minimize energy expenditure, right? So this has resulted in this kind of behavior or physiological change, right? So to get food while minimizing energy expenditure, this kind of behavior and this kind of physiological adaptation has happened. For example, and go into more detail. Yeah, well done. To identify some feeding strategies, lures, or elongated appendages in order to minimize their energy expenditure. Answer is here. So answer is from top of the paragraph right down to here. Okay. D, to give examples of body structure that help those animals move quickly in deep ocean waters. That's not the reason. And also it has nothing to do with the emphasis on lures. Lures means like you trying to inactively let the prey come to you rather than you trying to catch and chase the predator. So how does that match body structure? It's not a body structure, first of all. Elongated appendages are body structures, but emphasis on lures is not body structure at all, right? This is also wrong. Okay, if you're luring, but it says emphasis on lures and elongated appendages. So they are asking more general question. So this is a development. Okay, this is a result. So this is a key. This resulted in emphasis on lure and elongated appendages. This resulted in. And what is this? This tendency. And why is this tendency developed? To minimize energy expenditure. And this tendency resulted in this behavior and this physiological change. So answer is C. It's quite a general question. It's not a specific question because it includes this and that. Okay, it includes both. So question 6, the answer is C. Okay, question 7, vocab question and pretty easy word. Coping with is like, able to deal with, all right? I cope with, in easy situation, difficult situation. Yeah, I'm coping well, okay, right? So I'm dealing with it, okay? I'm dealing with well, all right? In the deep waters of the ocean, there is a much greater tendency for animal to await arrival. So I'm going to read quickly because we read this paragraph already. Let's not read it all, just read it from here. Another consequences of limited availability of prey is that many animals have developed ways of coping with, dealing with, doing, coming up with much larger food particles. Okay. So absorbing is not coping with. I mean, like absorbing here may or may not make sense to comprehend absorbing much larger food source, because at the end, like a snake, that's what they develop to, be able to be done. They develop that ability, but that doesn't mean the meaning of coping is same as absorbing, right? Because coping with, dealing with. Okay. B, finding much larger food particles. Develop ways of dealing with much larger food particles. So even worse than the first one. Approaching, also wrong. Yeah, managing. Okay. So dealing with much larger food particles means managing, able to deal with, manage much larger food particles. Okay. So B and C, I don't think like nobody chose it. Really bad answer. A, some, unfortunately may have chosen A if you didn't know this word at all. So you need to learn vocabulary, because, it may not be possible. It may be a little bit impossible to solve every vocab question based on context if you don't know this word meaning, and also don't know the meaning from your answer choices. If you don't know both of them, how you're going to fit that in with the context, right? I mean, theoretically, it makes sense, but, realistically, it doesn't work all the time. So you have to study vocab, right? So coping with means deal with. So deal with is manage, okay? How are you coping with school? Are you doing okay? Yeah, I'm managing well. I'm managing school. School is okay. All right. So question 7, the answer is D. Okay, question 8. According to paragraph 5, why do some fish swallow their prey as whole? Prey whole. It's not a rhetorical purpose. It's a factual question. And it's quite detailed, specific question. So we read it already, but let's find the exact reason, detailed reason, why this has to happen. It's here, as we remember, right? Among the fishes, there is a tendency for the teeth and jaws to become larger. In such creatures, not only are the teeth hugely enlarged and the jaws elongated, but size of the mouth opening may be greatly increased by making the jaw so flexible that they can be effectively dislocated. Okay. Very large or long teeth provide almost no room. I think this is the answer. So they have to. Very large. So because of this adaptation, very large or long teeth provide almost no room for cutting the prey. So they can't. So they just have to swallow. And they have to deal with much larger food particles. So they cannot cut it with their teeth because of this adaptation, right? Their jaws and mouth became so big, they just have to swallow it. Okay, they have no room to cut it down. So no room for cutting the prey into convenient size, right? Very large or long teeth provide almost no room, okay? All right, and no room inside. To cut prey into convenient size for swallowing, semicolon, the fish must gulp prey down as a whole, prey down whole, because there is no room for cutting the prey into convenient size, because very large or long teeth. Yeah, okay, it's a detailed question. It's not a fundamental question. Their teeth are too large to allow for cutting prey. Yeah, simple, straightforward question. B, they have no jaws. Swallowing prey whole results in a higher net energy gain. Maybe common sense, maybe background knowledge, but it is not mentioned in the passage, not mentioned in the paragraph. Okay? This is objective English test that tests your English comprehension. It's not testing your common sense or knowledge that is not mentioned in the passage. Everything you ever need to solve the question is based on the passage. It comes from the paragraph, right? So C is not mentioned at all. Okay. D, chewing can cause the jaws to dislocate. No, that's the size. That's a different reason that makes it dislocate, not chewing. Okay. So it's just here. Very large or long teeth provide almost no room for cutting prey into convenient size for swallowing. So what do? They have to gulp the prey. Gulp means swallow. Gulp the prey down whole, right? So that is A. Straightforward. Question A, the correct answer is A. Question 9. Look at the squares. Where does this fit? Let's read this sentence. Such a passive approach, like luring, I remember, because it's not active. Such a works almost as a pronoun. So previous to this sentence, it has to name us one specific approach that is passive. So that after this sentence, we can say such a passive approach, okay? So such a passive approach requires those animals to develop specialized method of acquiring food, okay? So cannot be the first square. We need some information previous to this sentence to match such a passive approach. In the deep waters of the ocean, there is a much greater tendency for animals to await the arrival of food particles. So this is kind of passive. Not kind of. This is passive. Okay? Rather than to search them out actively. Boom. Perfect. Second square. Okay? Okay? Rather than, opposed to. Rather than, active way. So there is a much greater tendency for animals to await arrival of food particles of prey is an inactive or passive approach because it says rather than versus compared to search them out actively. So this is less active, inactive, or passive way. And this is more active way. Right? So second square, perfect. Okay. This told us this is passive way. Or opposite to active. Okay. So second square, we can say such a passive approach require, which is this approach. Beautiful. Okay. Such passive approach require those animals to develop specialized method of acquiring food. So next sentence, the information need to start about developing specialized method to undertake this passive method. So let's double check. If this starts talk about developing specialized method, specialized passive method. This has resulted in more stealthy style of feeding with the consequent emphasis on lure, evolution of elongated appendages that increase. Yep, it talks about specialized method. Okay, so specialized passive methods are emphasis on lures, evolution of elongated appendages, to increase active volume of water controlled or monitored by the animal. So this is actual strategies, right? Actual method. How? Right? Perfect. Right here. Okay? Because the passive approach here matches previous sentence. And next sentence matches develop specialized methods. Perfect. Okay? So answer is second box or B. Question 9, the correct answer is second or B. Okay, question 10, last one. Let's finish it well. Introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage provided below. As you can see, let's read them out. Ocean animals have developed various strategies for maximizing energy input from food. So maximizing amount of food. Yeah. Complete the summary by selecting 3 answer choices that express most important ideas. So main ideas, major ideas, not minor. Some sentences do not belong in the summary. So wrong answers are that are not presented in the passage. So not mentioned, or of course, like wrong information, or a minor idea. So if it's like really detailed, minor, not important, major, not main idea, these are the wrong answers. Yeah, let's go, people. Let's start with A. Large carnivores near the ocean surface feed mainly on organic matters, not mentioned. Okay. Leftover after it passes through the field. Okay, does the passage say it makes no sense? Okay, because filter feeders like feed on small organisms, so large carnivores cannot be using small organism as a food source. It's just wrong in so many ways. But most importantly, it's not mentioned at all. And logically, it makes no sense. This means like when anchovies filter feed the organisms, and after anchovies filter feed the small organisms, whatever is left out by something that is filtered out, so not even small organisms, maybe water, large carnivores feed on that. Okay. But that's what it says. I'm not exaggerating. That's what A is saying. Okay, so A is wrong. B, near the surface of the water where there are lots of food, many animals obtain food by using specialized body part to filter plankton from the water. Yeah. Okay. So maybe not many animals, but except this, there are many filter feeders, right? So I think B is correct. Okay, so it's just saying not all, okay, some, right, or many that are filter feeders, right? That's true. So you get paragraph 1 or 2. Yeah, it's paragraph 2. Yeah. So there are filter feeders. Okay. Yeah, there are many. Okay. Different sizes. There are many filter feeders. Okay. So I think B is correct. C, even in deep ocean layer where prey is relatively hard to find, filter feed is still the least energetically demanding method of obtaining food. Does it say that? Does it say that, guys? Does it say filter feeder is the, like, number 1 least energy demanding method? Does it say that? No. Okay, you're writing a fiction. Okay, it doesn't compare like Oh, but compared to, you may think that it's your imagination. Does it say anything that, like, let's compare the energy consumption it needs to spend on carnivores and filter feeder? Let's compare that. Carnivore spend a lot more energy getting their food source than filter feeder. No, I didn't see anything. Good. So 2 are completely wrong. D, filter feeding is more common in shallow water. Yes. Where there's a high concentration of organic matter, then there is in deep water. It's true. So E, animals in deep water have evolved strategies and body structure that allow them to use little energy as possible in obtaining, yeah. So that's question. That's directly, yeah, question 6, paragraph 5. Okay. That's what we talked about and we covered as we are solving question. Okay. Animals in deep water have evolved strategies and body structure. Okay. Luring, elongated appendages. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. F, at deeper ocean level, plankton is relatively rare. Yeah, implied. So I don't like F already. It's not really stated, but maybe implied. Requiring animal at those level to actively search, this is opposite. Right? This is wrong. First, it doesn't say that. And logically, it contradicts to paragraph 5, where in deep water, they found a way to, forage with minimum energy spend as possible. And one of the strategy, including luring, which is a passive way. So this is opposite to that, actively search. So this is just wrong. Yeah, so it came out pretty easy after, because regardless of which paragraph, where it is or whatever, A is completely wrong, C is completely wrong, F is completely wrong, and B, D, E are right answers in terms of content. It's very clearly right, okay? Whereas A, C, F are completely wrong. So, turned out to be a very clear question with the 3 answers and 3 wrong answers, right? Cool. So question 10, the answers are B, D, E. Bang. Okay. So we've gone through 10 questions, 10 correct answers. Great. That's it, guys. So thank you for watching. I sincerely hope you receive some benefits and you feel you are improving, and this video was beneficial for you. And I'll see you next time. I really, truly appreciate you watching this video, learning from me and watching it till the end, and you using these resources, these lessons, and, trying to study. And with me, I truly appreciate you doing that. All right. Until next time. See you guys. Have a great day. Bye. Hello, everyone. This is James Song here. I hope you're well. We have a reading lecture today for the TOEFL test. So let's start right away. As you can see on the screen here, the title of the passage we're going to cover today is the invention of the mechanical clock. So let's find out. In Europe, paragraph 1. In Europe, before the introduction of the mechanical clock, people told time by sun by looking at the sun. For example, shadow sticks or sundials, and water clocks. So sun clocks and water clocks. Sun clocks worked, of course, only on clear days. Yeah, so before mechanical clock, sun clock, and water clocks. And obviously, the disadvantages are sun clocks works only on sunny days because it's sun clock. Water clocks work in the water. Water clocks misbehaved when the temperature fell towards freezing. Yeah, I was right? So when the water becomes ice, so when the temperature goes down too much, below zero, I guess, then it wouldn't work well. To say nothing of long run drift as the result of sedimentation and clogging because it's water. In these situations, it would not work very well. Plus, when the temperature fell so low that waters become ice, then it wouldn't work very well. Okay, both these devices, sun clock and water clocks, work well in sunny climates and not so cold climates. But in Northern Europe, yeah, obviously very cold and some cloudy days, I guess. In Northern Europe, the sun may be hidden by clouds, so for weeks at a time, for a long time in a row. While temperature vary, not only seasonally, but from day to night. So, at night, it may be very cold. And during the day, temperature goes up by quite a bit. Then it would work pretty well during the day, but it would not work very well at night because it's too cold, right? Yeah. Question. Bring it on. Why does author provide information? It's a supporting detail of how, sun clock would not work very well if it's not sunny. And the water clock would not work very well if the temperature decreases so much, right? And it's an example of that. So in Northern Europe, they still used it probably. It doesn't say they did not use it, okay? In Europe, people told time by sun and water clocks, but in Northern Europe may have these problems, okay? All right, A, to emphasize the variety of environment in which people use the sun and water clocks to tell time. This is not correct because A is essentially saying, people used sun clock under this environmental situations to different weather conditions, and water clocks were used in different situations and different climate. It's not talking about that, okay? It's saying the limitation of using sun clock or water clock in Northern Europe, for example, because of these situations. So it's not talking about the variety, right? The problems. To illustrate the disadvantage, the problems of sun and water clocks, yeah. So it shows disadvantages, right? Okay, under this condition, it would not work very well. That's a disadvantage. C, to provide an example of an area where water clock have an advantage over sun clock. So does it say in Northern Europe, water clock works better than sun clock? No. Okay. D, to counter the claim, It's not countering the claim at all, so it's already wrong, but let's read on. The sun and water clocks were used all over Europe. So, this is trying to say the sun and water clocks were not used in Northern Europe, only Southern Europe. Does this sentence say that? Absolutely not. Okay, so answer is B. Question 1, B. Moving right along. Question 2. According to paragraph 2, why did medieval church need an alarm arrangement? Okay. So medieval church, I guess Catholic Church, needed an alarm. Why? Paragraph 2. Medieval Europe gave new importance to reliable time. They needed an alarm. But why? The Catholic Church had its 7 daily prayers, okay, one of which was at night, needed an alarm to waken monks before dawn. Okay, so since one of the 7 daily prayers were at night, they needed alarm to waken monks before dawn at night to attend daily prayers, one of 7 daily prayers at night, right? That's the answer. Let's go on, keep reading. And then the new cities and towns, squeezed by their walls, had to know and all the time in order to organize collective activity and ration space. So they were squeezed by the walls. So they had to know the time for, group activities and place where they can get food. They set a time to go to sleep, okay? Because they squeezed by the walls. They needed to know what time it is to set time for sleeping, time to go to bed. All this was compatible with all the device. So you could do this with sun or water clocks, so long as there was only one authoritative timekeeper. You could use sun or water clock, but you needed like one formal and decisive official timekeeper, but there is none, right? Because different people or different places, like even say, like what I'm trying to say is there cannot be one official timekeeper when you use sun or water clocks, because even though they use the sun, 10 people use the sun, they may tell time differently, depend on where they are or how they see them. So it is not possible to have like one reliable source to tell the right time if you use the sun or water clock. It's not possible, right? Understand? Yeah, I hope so. I think I explained it clear enough, right? But with urban growth and multiplication of time signals, see? Right? Multiple, not one. Discrepancies, yeah. Wrong because it's different. That's discrepancy, right? So if me and my friend looked at the sun to tell the time, and the time I'm telling and my friend is telling is different, then that difference is discrepancy. And discrepancy will happen. So, yeah, so like, or you need like only one person or one official timekeeper to tell the time to everyone, but that wouldn't be possible, right? Discrepancy will happen, right? Broad discord and strife, argument, contradiction, people getting angry. Society needed more dependable instrument, like a machine, a tool, okay, of time measurement and found it in a mechanical clock, right? Okay, so they do have one authoritative timekeeper now. That is mechanical clock as one machine. Okay, so you can rely on one timekeeper. Okay, so why church needed an alarm? Alarm warned the monks of discord strife in the temple. So alarm like let monks know what troubles they have. No, it's just B. The church was responsible for regulating working hours and market hours. No. The church. Answer the question. The alarm was needed in case fire. Fire! Okay. So alarm is set whenever there is a fire. So sprinkler can work in Middle Ages. No. Okay. Fire alarm? No way. One of the church's daily ritual, daily prayers, 7 prayers. One of them occurred at night. So they needed an alarm to wake the monks up during the night because one of the daily prayers were during the night. D. So question 2, D. Question 3, authoritative is like one official, one you can rely on, one proper, one formal timekeeper. Okay, not actual, not important. It's not the matter of importance or less importance. It's like one official, one proper, one set timekeeper. It's not about being effective or ineffective. Okay, that's not the issue. So question 3, C. Question 4. Yep. Paragraph 3. We do not know who invented this machine. Wow, really? Or where? Pretty remarkable. It seems to have appeared in Italy and England. We think so. Seems to be. Between 1275 and 1300. So 700-800 years ago, it was created. Once now, it spread rapidly. So once mechanical clock was known to public, to society, it spread rapidly. Driving out water clock, okay, fair enough. But not solar dials, not sun clock. Okay, why not? Which were needed, so comma which, so we're describing solar dials. So solar dials, sun clocks were needed to do what? To check new machines, okay, to check mechanical clock against the timekeeper of last resort, okay? So timekeeper of last resort is the sun clock, solar dials here, okay? So timekeeper of last source, when everything else fails, every other method becomes not available anymore. What is the timekeeper of the last resort? Okay, last source is the sun clock. Okay, so the mechanical clock needed to be checked checked based on the last available source of time, which is solar dials, sun clock. So they kept one other method of telling the time. Question 4. Author uses the phrase timekeeper of last resort to refer what does this refer to? Sun clock, right? Yeah. Let's move on. 4, answer is B. Question 5, paragraph 4. Halfway already. Let's read paragraph 4. Ironically, okay, actually, not to get caught out, let's read this last part of paragraph 3 first. These early versions, so early versions of mechanical clock, were basic, inaccurate, and prone to breakdown. So it broke down a lot, not correct, and very basic. Okay, so how does the mechanical clock gets improved? I want to know. Ironically, it is ironic. Okay, what's ironic? The new machine tend to undermine Catholic Church authority. Really? Yeah. Okay, I want to know why. So undermine means make something weaker, make something lower, okay, not as good, or make it weaker, okay. So mechanical clock tend to make Catholic Church power weaker. Why and how? Okay. Although church ritual had sustained an interest, a church ritual daily prayer of 7 times, okay, has sustained an interest in timekeeping, so sustained the interest in knowing the exact time throughout the centuries of urban collapse that followed the fall of Rome. So although Catholic Church wanted to know the exact time to do 7 prayers, but church time was nature's time. So time was based on sun and water and just known naturally, not by looking at a tool, okay, machine. Day and nights were divided into the same number of parts so that, except at equinoxes, so day and nights were divided into the same number of parts naturally under the sun or by the water, so that except at the equinoxes, equinox is scientifically the day that has exactly 50% day and 50% night. Okay, that's equinoxes. Okay, so except on this day and night hours were unequal. Of course, because you're looking at the sun to know the time, and in summer, sun stays longer, so night would be shorter. So it would not be the same because you rely on the nature to tell time. Okay, yeah. And then, of course, the length of these hours varied with the seasons. Yeah, so not just the day. Every day it's different. Some days you have longer day. Some days you have longer night, but it changes based on seasons as well, you know, summer and winter. But the mechanical clock kept equal hours, right? Mechanical clock, you know, don't rely on nature to tell time. So, you know, 12 hours day, 12 hours night, you know, it's based on 24-hour system. Okay, so they keep the equal hours regardless of the day or regardless of the season. Okay, it's like math, right? And this implied a new time reckoning. Yeah, so new system of time, moving away from the nature's time to like equal hours of day and night. Okay, so it implied change. The Catholic Church resisted. So Catholic Church wanted to keep their style, keep their standard. They don't want to lose that authority. Not coming over to new hours for about a century. So they try not to accept. They wanted to keep their standard, to keep their authority for about 100 years. Okay? But ultimately, they, you know, accepted mechanical clock because they're saying not coming over for about a century. So after a century, they came over. But at first, they try not to accept mechanical clock because they have to change their standard. Okay, that means their authority is going down. From the start, however, the towns and cities, so other than the church, took equal hours as their standard. So they accepted mechanical clock, 24-hour scale, for example, and the public clocks installed, put in town halls. So you could see the clocks in town halls and market squares became the very symbol of new secular. So secular is more like society-driven, non-religious, okay? Not square, circular. Okay, and municipal authority means like regional government, local government, okay? So the mechanical clock and time, okay, became a new non-religious regional government symbol, right? Standard, new standard. Every town wanted one. Conquerors seized them as especially precious spoils of war. Tourists came to see and hear these machines the way as though they made pilgrimage to sacred relics. So it's giving details how much they wanted one. Okay, so if you're like a conqueror, okay, if you're the king who won the war and you could take the clocks from the land you just conquered, they did, right? They wanted a mechanical clock, and tourists came to place to see and hear this mechanical clock. They wanted one, like they made a pilgrimage to, you know, look at like holy objects. Yeah, they really wanted one. Let's go. Paragraph 4. Question 5. According to paragraph 4, how did Catholic Church react to introduction? They resisted for first 100 years because they don't want to lose the authority. It used mechanical clock through the period of urban collapse? No. It used clocks to better understand natural phenomena? No. Right? So mechanical clock, relying on nature's time, two separate things, right? C, it tried to preserve its own method, so not using the mechanical clock, but nature's time. They tried to keep, right? So paraphrased of resisted, right? Resisted means they try to preserve, they try to keep, right? Their own style of keeping time, not mechanical clock, which was different from mechanical clock. Yeah. D, it used mechanical clock to challenge secular town authorities. They didn't challenge anything. Okay. All right, question 5, answer C. Question 6, install just means like put in, put inside, or put in place, right? So like, for example, install software in your computer. That's install. Installation, install. You install it. You install furniture in your apartment. That's install. So, put in place. Okay. And other words, if you put in, if you knew what install mean, it doesn't make sense at all. Okay. So question 6, D. All right, next. Come on. It can be inferred from paragraph 5 that medieval clockmakers, okay, let's read paragraph 5. The clock was the greatest achievement of medieval mechanical ingenuity. Wow, okay, so it was big deal, great achievement of medieval mechanical cleverness, ideas, greatest achievement, okay, of their mechanical ability. Its general accuracy could be checked against easily observed phenomena. We just read that in previous paragraph, okay? So they often check based on the sun. Like rising and setting of the sun, the result was relentless. Relentless means like without a break, continuing, okay? Not stopping, okay? So continuous. Relentless pressure to improve technique and design. Okay. At every stage, clockmakers, here we go, keyword, led the way, so they were leaders, to accuracy and precision. So clockmakers tried to make the mechanical clock
more accurate and exact. They became masters of what? Of miniaturization. So I guess making a smaller clocks as well, making something small. So taking something big into smaller version. Detectors, trying to find things out. Correctors of error, so find error and correct them. And searchers for new and better. Okay, so they were like masters of these things. So make the clocks newer and better, better design, better technique, more accuracy, making it smaller. Okay, they were thus the pioneers, same thing, leaders, right? Pioneers, like trailblazers. So they were leading, they were leaders of mechanical engineering, right? The whole mechanical engineering, the clockmakers were the leaders of the industry and served as examples for people to follow and teachers to learn from, to other branches of engineering, not just the clock. They were so advanced, they were masters of these things, they were leaders and examples and teachers for the whole engineering field, okay? Whole mechanical engineering field, right? Sorry, my throat, it tried a bit. Okay, so what can you infer? We're able to, so infer means we may have to objectively infer. So there will be clearly evidence in this paragraph to make the objectively right conclusion. That would be one of the answer choice. So you cannot just subjectively infer, because there would be whatever, and there would be no right answer. So you have to be objectively infer, which means the reason for your inference must come out from this paragraph objectively, okay? A, we're able to continually make improvements in the accuracy of mechanical clock. Yeah, they would be able to, because they were masters of corrector of error, and they really worked hard to make it more accurate, okay? So yeah, I think they were able to do that because, yeah, that's what they did. So it's almost factual question, isn't it? Right? So like this part is the answer, okay? Clockmakers led the way to accuracy and precision. They become masters of detectors and correctors of error. So that's implying, it's almost like same as this sentence, right? But this makes it not explicitly the same, okay? B, were sometimes not well respected, not the answer. Sometimes made claims about the accuracy of the mechanical clock that were not true. This answer choice is not true. Rarely shared their expertise. No, they were pioneers and also teachers and examples of the whole mechanical engineering industry, right? So they did share. So rarely is wrong. So answer is A. Question 7, A. Question, just to make sure. Question A, according to paragraph 6, how, what way did the mechanical clock affect labor? Okay, so mechanical clock affected the labor in what way? Okay, paragraph 6, let's go. The clock brought order and control, okay, but how did it affect labor? Both collective and personal, both for the whole group and for an individual. It's public display, like say in town hall, and private position, having like a small clock in their pocket, led the basis for temporal autonomy. Temporal related to time. Okay, so they were independent they were free of time-related issue because they could see exactly what time it was, okay? What does that mean? People could now coordinate comings and goings without dictation from above, okay? They could make their own decision, right? When to go, when to come, because they knew what time it was. So they had their freedom. The clock provided the punctuation marks for the group activity. Yeah, make people punctual, I guess, right? So let's say we start at 5, come at 5, or come by 4:55. Don't be late. You can say that because everybody can see the clock, use the clock to know what time exactly it was. So people can be more punctual while enabling individual to order their own work and that of others based on time. Okay, so I work between 2 to 5, okay? Or I order people to work from 3 to 6, okay? Yeah, so as to enhance productivity, because people work based on time, right? So you have to finish a certain amount of work in 3 hours, or from 2 to 5, you have to finish this. Indeed, the very notion of productivity, so the meaning of the word or concept of the productivity is byproduct, result of the clock. What does it mean? Sorry, typo. I apologize. One can, yeah, I'll write it again. Okay, once one can relate performance to uniform time units, work is never the same. Okay, so I'll explain what this means. Very notion, so meaning, definition of productivity is a result of the time, result of the clock, right? Because productivity basically means based on same time period, uniform means same, okay? So based on same time period, so within 1 hour, how much you can produce, how much you can perform, how much outcome you can create is the meaning of productivity, okay? Right? So based on same time, so within 1 hour, within 60 minutes, my performance is to make 10 pens. And my friend, my coworker, based on 60 minutes, based on 1 hour, within 1 hour, his performance, my friend, is to make 5 pens. Then I am more productive than my friend, right? So this is what this sentence means. So productivity is enhanced. That's an effect on labor. Because productivity is a concept that is based on time, basically, okay? So work is never the same, okay? So the main idea of this part is, so therefore, it increased productivity, okay? All right, one moves from task-oriented time consciousness. So people were task-oriented, not time-oriented or outcome-oriented or productivity-oriented. Okay, so one moves from task-oriented time consciousness of the pigeon and the time-filling busyness of the domestic servant who always has something to do, to an effort to maximize product per unit of time. Let me explain this. So it's from, so just understand English really quickly, and I'll go into a little more detail, right? So one moved from task-oriented time consciousness and time-filling business to maximizing product per unit of time. What is this? Productivity. That is explained above. Right? Okay, so they moved from task-oriented and time-filling business to maximize product output per same time period, certain unit of time period. Understand? So this is productivity. So they moved from task-oriented and filling the time to trying to increase the productivity. And let's read it and really appreciate this sentence a little bit more detail. Let's comprehend word for word. So one moved from task-oriented time consciousness of the patient, working on the job after another as time and life permit, right? So like at what time, what do I do? What task I do at certain time? And the time-filling business of the domestic servant means who always has something to do. So what work? Yeah, same thing, really. Okay, so to fill the time, what do I do during this time? So that was the focus of the labor. Okay, like what work I do, and during what time I don't rest. Okay, like how do I fill the time with what kind of work I do? So that was previous concept of labor. To how much effort I put in, how I can put my effort in to produce more based on given time. So the focus was changed to more quantity I produce, okay, more output I create, more outcome I make based on given time. Okay, based on the unit of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, okay? So focus became more productivity, okay? From what work I do and yeah, how long I do to achieving more productivity. Yeah, little hard, but not too much, okay? I'm sure you understood clearly. Okay, so we've done question 7. Yeah, we did. Question 8. According to paragraph 6, how did mechanical clock affect labor? It made people focus on more productivity, right? Or maximizing output for given time. A, it encouraged workers to do more time-filling busy work. So that's this one I mentioned. So that's from. So it's not the answer. We need this as an answer. So this was before. Okay. So that's not answering the question. Okay, B, it enabled workers to be more task-oriented, exactly opposite, right? So B is this one here. So it's from. Okay, answer is after 2, right? Okay, C, it pushed workers to work more hours every day. Not really. Okay, I mean, logically, you might be tricked to think that, you know, like you might take one more step and trying to interpret your own way and say like, oh, if you want to make more output, then maybe you need to work more. But that's not what the passage says. Passage says they focus on to put effort to maximize the output, maximize the product. not to work more hours at all. Okay, so answer the question and only comprehend, only understand what is written in the passage. Okay, so it's not about work more hours or less hours, right? So D better be the answer. It led to focus on productivity. Very simple. Okay, so you needed to understand this last part of the last sentence here is referring to productivity. You needed to know that. Okay. Yeah. And productivity is written in this part. Right? Yeah. Okay. I don't think I can say any more. Like, I love to help you understand even clearer, but that's all I can do. Okay. I explored every avenues, okay, to help you understand. Okay. Question 9. Look at the 4 squares that indicate where the following sentence can be added. So which spot out of 4 squares it should be added to make the paragraph flow and logically sound. Okay, let's read this sentence. The division of time. So maybe something about the division of time is mentioned previous to this sentence. Okay, maybe because it says the, right? The division of time no longer reflected the organization of religious ritual. Okay, so division of time no longer. So probably before, division of time reflected the organization of religious ritual, how they organize daily prayers. Division of time reflected that, but it no longer did. Okay, yeah, so let's go. We're back to paragraph 4. Ironically, the new machine tended to undermine Catholic Church authority. Why? Although church ritual has sustained an interest in timekeeping, church time was nature's time. So division of time no longer, it's too much of a jump. Okay. Day and night were divided into the same number of parts so that day and night hours were unequal. Okay. And then, of course, the lengths of these hours varied with the seasons. The division of time no longer reflected organization of religious ritual. Not yet. Okay. Something has to happen so that division of time no longer reflect the organization of religious ritual. But if we put it here, it doesn't make sense because, it doesn't have any sentence to say something changed, so division of time no longer reflected above, right? So I like third square already. So something happened that made division of time no longer reflected, okay? But the mechanical clock kept equal hours. And this implied new time reckoning. So division of time previously done by Catholic Church no longer reflected the organization of religious ritual because we have new system now, right? Okay, so we don't divide the time like day and night that are unequal. Okay, we keep equal hours now, okay, on the new system. So the division of time no longer reflected how things are done in Catholic Church based on nature's time. They need to follow different system. So it should be here, okay? But let's just check fourth square. The Catholic Church resisted not coming over about a century. Yeah, so it's third. Okay. Mechanical clock kept equal hours. So division of time of day and night on equal hours, no longer. They had to follow the equal hours system. Yeah, so it should be third square, C. Cool. Let's just check this sentence just in case. I mean, fourth is wrong by reading this part. Makes no sense, but just to double check. From the start, however, the towns and cities took equal hours as their stand. Yeah, it's wrong. Okay. It should be after this sentence. They resisted, but outside of the church didn't resist. Okay. They used it right away. So not fourth. Okay, last question. So question 9, C or third? Last question, question 10. An introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. So what is the brief summary? Let's read it out together. The introduction of mechanical clock caused important changes. So what are the changes? To the society of medieval Europe. Okay, so it caused some important changes. So what caused it? And what changes? Complete the summary by selecting 3 answer choices. So we choose 3 right answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. So they are the right answers. Some sentences do not belong in the summary. So what are the wrong answer choices? Because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage. So it's not mentioned or wrong information, of course. Or they're simply minor detail, not the main ideas or not the most important ideas. Okay? Then they are wrong answers. Let's go. Increasing complexity of social and economic activity in medieval Europe led to need for a more dependent means of keeping time than sun and water clock provided. Yeah. First paragraph. Okay. So if you go back to first paragraph, a second paragraph, sorry. Okay. Because of the let's actually go back. I don't like going back and forth because I'm just afraid you might find it difficult to follow the video, but I think it's important. We have to do it. Okay. So they need to do all these functions to know the time. Okay. But with urban growth and multiplication of time signals, discrepancy, so like wrong time differences in time, not one authority timekeeper telling you the correct time. So multiple discrepancies of time differences, and with urban growth, okay, brought a lot of troubles. So society needed more dependable time instrument, okay, due to urban growth and these discrepancies. So increasing complexity of social and economic activity in medieval Europe growth led to need for a dependable time than sun and water clocks provided. So mainly paragraph 2, a little bit of paragraph 1 as well. So definitely a main idea. Okay, P. Because they were unreliable even in sunny climate, it said like under the sunny climate, they could use it. It was accurate. Okay. So I don't like B already. Okay, it said it worked pretty well under the sunny weather. Sun clock and water clocks were rarely used in Europe. It was used before the introduction of mechanical clock. Okay, so this is totally wrong. And paragraph 1 proves B is wrong. Before the mechanical clock, C, every city, I don't like it already. There was no mentioning of like every city. Before the mechanical clock, every city wanted a large number of time. No, they wanted just one authoritative timekeeper. They didn't want many timekeepers in the first place. Okay, so that was paragraph 4. Was it 3? 2? Let me find it actually and tell you. I don't want to go back. It's paragraph 2. Okay, all right. So paragraph 2 proves C is the wrong answer. They didn't want a large number of timekeepers. Okay. Soon after the invention of mechanical clocks, sun and water became obsolete, outdated, like old-fashioned in negative connotation, because mechanical clock were far more accurate. No, at first, it's paragraph 3, right? Last sentence. It says, these early versions of mechanical clock it's referring to were rudimentary, inaccurate, and prone to breakdown. So it was not accurate from the beginning, okay? As soon as introduction, right? So D is wrong because soon after invention of mechanical clock, sun and water clock became obsolete. And also, sun did not become obsolete. They kept on using the sun to check as a last resort, right? So this is wrong also. Because mechanical clock were far more accurate. No, at first, and there's no mentioning of this. Okay, so it's clear now. I'll stop. Sorry. Okay, E, because it's so clear, it's very wrong answer choice, right? So I don't see much point going on and bored you. I hope not. E, although society in general was quick to adopt the mechanical clock, yeah, the Catholic Church paragraph. Okay, however, the society adapted right away. The Catholic Church resisted for about a century. Resisted because they lose their authority. The mechanical clock undermined Catholic Church's authority. Challenged? Yeah. So that was paragraph 4, right? Let me quickly go back, but it's very simple. This paragraph here, okay? So they resisted for about a century because mechanical clock undermined Catholic Church's authority. But other than church, right, from the start, the towns and cities, okay, however, unlike Catholic Church, towns and cities took equal hours, refers to mechanical clock, as their standard, okay? So they accept it right away. So E is the right answer. So F better be right. We got A as the right answer, E as the right answer. So we need one more, okay? So let's go, last one, hopefully. Clockmakers introduced precision engineering. Okay, clockmakers, they were the leaders, pioneers. They always worked to make it more accurate, okay? Introduced precision engineering, yeah. They led the whole mechanical engineering field. They were, leading their way to make it more accurate and precise, right? So they introduced precision engineering, and their clocks gave individual and groups, collective and person, more control, more autonomy over organization of their activity. Yeah. Where is that? It's a little bit of paragraph 5, I guess, but indirectly, because these people made it more accurate, but mainly it's paragraph 6, right? You know, lay the basis for temporal autonomy. People could now coordinate coming and going without dictation from above, okay? Or even a little bit here, before enhancing productivity, okay? The clock provided punctuation marks for group activity while enabling individual to order their own work in their own way, right? So this part here, this part here. Make this a clear answer, right? Sorry if I'm blabbing on. I'm just trying to be very detailed to help you understand clearly, okay? So sorry, I'm blabbing on a bit too long. It's not my intention. Clockmakers introduced precision engineering, a little bit of paragraph 5, and their clock gave individual and groups more autonomy over how they do things. Paragraph 6, right? A little bit of paragraph 5 and a little bit of paragraph 6, main idea. Okay, so there you have it. Answer is A, E, F. E came from paragraph 4. Yeah, so answer is A, E, F. Okay, so that was the question 10. So that's it for today, this lecture of TOEFL reading. I hope you found it useful and learned something and feeling more confident. Let's keep on working. Let's keep working hard and let's improve together. Okay, I really appreciate watching this video and studying with me. So I'll come back with another great TOEFL video and let's study together in our next video. Thank you for watching. Bye. Have a great day.